It's time for ignition and straight up automobile pimping.
Dude, where's my car?
Welcome back to Dude, Where's My Car? You're in for another installment of the podcast. I'm your host, Tom, and I have my regular co-host with me, Tony, Mr. Hung.
Not Muscle Man this week?
No. I break it up for you every fortnight, bro.
I thought it was just because I didn't go to the gym.
Mr. Hung.
Every week.
Mr. Hung like donkey. He is...
I'll take that. Who do we have on today?
Bro... I have one of my favorite people in the world on the podcast today.
You're making me blush.
Only because I find his enthusiasm and his energy that he brings to his cars and the road scene just as good as he is to listen to and hearing his stories. And that's why we've got him on today. I have none other than Mario. Bro,
Pleasure
how you going?
here. Thank you. Pleasure. Ready to go.
How nervous are you?
My heart's pounding. I don't know whether it was from your kind words or...
He makes you blush at the start.
He
Right?
does,
That
he
introduction
does.
he gives to everyone, it's like perfect.
Yeah,
it's
every
perfect
time.
every week.
I'm trying to butter you up.
We can do that. We can work on something
If
after
you guys
this.
want to get into it, I'll leave you guys to it.
Just letting everyone know these podcasts are videoed. So if you want to get into that later, tune into Big Brother Uncut 10:30.
There is a link in the bio.
Thank you so much for coming on today, bro, because it was kind of last minute, I won't lie. But I have been wanting to bring you on no matter what, only just because you do work in cars, you have been around cars, you have owned many cars, and I feel like know the Subaru platform back to front, but I would arguably say you know a lot of other fucking platforms back to front.
Look, it's only because the thing breaks every time. We're lucky it's driving today. That's how I got here.
Yeah, who's breaking it?
The driver.
Who's the driver?
It's driver error. It's me. It's every time. Every time it's me just getting carried away, no matter what.
Well, dude, tell me a little bit more about you. How did this start? Where did the car journey thing kick off? And give me the rundown.
Being in the family the whole time. I mean, much like Tony himself, just brought into it. There's a photo of me, 3 months old, 351 Ford motor, Cleveland. Just fresh white jumpsuit, spanner in the ear, cigarette in the other. Yeah, excellent.
We should get that photo. I'll have it on the TV as well.
Yeah,
Look, if I can get the photo, I'd send it through.
Do you know? So, I mean, I know we haven't got it up yet, but we actually requested every member of the podcast who comes on, we want a photo of them and their car. You can wear something raunchy if you want. So I'm hoping you wear your best bikini.
Borat.
100%.
Bright pink?
All day. Green. Green's got to be the go. It's the original.
So I'm thinking that baby photo, front and center.
Yeah, look, I mean, if I, like you said, last minute, if I had more time, I would have brought the hard copy here, blown it up on the way here, and stuck it on the TV with tape.
Well, luckily for us, you live around the corner, so
Yeah, we're good. I'll be back.
But continue, all right? Tell me more. More.
Yeah, ever since then, my old man was a panel beater. That was his trade when he grew up. He left school, got into it, got into cars. He was always doing cashies at home, you know, full resto rebuilds, just basic smash
sick.
repair jobs. I mean, I got my hands dirty as soon as I could walk. I mean, there's photos of me with sandpaper in my hand and sanding cars and spray painting cars, and you know, all those jobs left perfect at the end, but they were evidence of me.
We learn as we grow.
That's it.
Did the customer ever come back? That's the question. Like,
Look, my memory's not that great. It's only the photos speaking here. If I saw the same person more than once, something had to have been up.
I think the customer's only seen the finished product, not what it's
That's
gone
it.
through.
That's it.
oh, you raised a really good point because I want to bring it up. I think it's going to be a funny as fuck segment, to be honest. But I want to hear some horror stories, horror work stories, or it could just be funny stories. It has nothing to whether or not you did it, but I'll let you keep going because I want to know more.
Most recent one really was today. I mean, I work on trucks, I work on cars, pretty much anything you can throw at me, you know, any agricultural stuff, I just nuts and bolts at the end of the day.
What, John Deere tractors?
Yeah, pretty much. I've got one in the workshop right now with the motor out of it.
We're not talking polys, right? We're talking tractors. Like,
Small enough to be classed as a tractor, but, you know,
yeah, okay.
yeah. But you can still put it on the back of a truck.
Okay, all right. We'll get into that in a bit, but I want to know. So that's a pretty good insight as to like who you are, and I feel like it's also very similar to Tony as well. Like I'm almost envious of what you two have, but I digress. I think How did that translate into like the first car that you ever bought? And whatever happened to the first car you ever bought?
I always, from the day I got my license, my L's, right when I could. After that was like every hour I could ever do was just write it down. You know, every 5 minutes I took the car around the block, write it down. And I was pushing, and I always wanted manual, but I always wanted an R33 Skyline. The one car I haven't owned yet.
Really?
33?
Yeah, 33. GDST.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, GDST. No one liked them. I've always loved them.
Fuck it.
Don't know
Team
why.
33.
So, anyway, my old man comes home one day,
Yeah.
being a panel beater. So he went to structural steel, then went back to panel beating. And he comes home with this blue 323 Mazda, 2001 model, right? Like little SP20 thing, but it wasn't the SP20. It was like the one before it with the 1.8, still manual. And I was like, threw a fit, like full on was like, I wanted an R33. I've been saving months and months and months. He's like, this only costs $2,000. I was like, didn't want it. My old man.
Ungrateful motherfucker.
Yeah, pretty much.
He wouldn't take it.
Being a WOG dad, that's exactly how it was. He was like, fuck you.
Spoiled little brat.
Yeah. But like that was it.
He didn't see sunlight for a month after.
Yeah. But every like background or drawing that I ever did, because I used to love drawing when I was in school, was a Skyline of some sort. Even a Subaru, believe it or not, once upon a
Oh,
time.
I believe it.
Yeah. I hated Subarus before. Swear to God.
We'll get into it.
Yeah. And we went to go visit my grandparents. Now, mind you, my grandparents live 1.5 k's down the road. Like, it was a 10-minute walk.
It's a proper Italian family.
Yeah, right? My uncle lived 2 doors over from them. Excellent. And he takes me for a drive in this thing. And I have never seen a 1.8 Mazda do second gear burnouts, handle a corner as well as it did on completely stock suspension, just took the limiter. Like, it just loved it. The next day, I kind of, tail between my legs, was like, can I have the car? He's like, yeah, it's yours. Anyway, after the whole L scenario, learning how to drive manual, put a sub in it, did all that stuff you do as a P plater.
Yeah.
First day I drove to school. We went from school to a mate's house, got out of the angle grinder, chopped the muffler off. Straight away.
To be honest, that's a step up from just drilling a few holes into
No,
it.
I just chopped the thing right off. Got an old coat hanger, tied it up to the exhaust hanger, and said, "Look, it still looks factory." Yeah, excellent. Thing
It
sounded
never
like.
happened.
And the next day, my old man gets a call from the cops. Yeah, I've been flagged straight away. Second day of having my license for having too loud of a car through a work zone, because I was going to a school and there was a hospital being built next to it and had 40k an hour speed limits. I had to do first gear up the hill just because I cut the muffler off. They thought I was doing 80. Yeah. Senior constable, sergeant, or whoever he was of the highway patrol of Northern Beaches at the time, rings my old man. My old man rings me. I didn't have the keys for 2 weeks. Yeah. That was how that car ended up. Drove it, and blew the diff in it.
Fuck.
Yeah, I used to absolutely destroy the thing. It lasted another 6 months after that. $2,000 car with 100,000 Ks. One owner, looked after, like mint condition. Blew the gearbox.
Going in 6.
You've just destroyed the soul.
Yeah, like gone. And after that, $800 Lancer. That lasted 2 months. Spun the bottom end bearing. I was a first year at this point, so I was like, you know what? How hard could it be? Pulled the sump off it, took the caps off, got some oversized bearings, whacked them in. The noise was twice as loud. Sent it on a tow truck the next day.
I'm sensing a common theme here, but keep going. I'm loving this.
Yeah.
Go.
Then came along the Triple S. N15, SR20. That was the first car I really started spending some money on. I bought coilovers secondhand off a mate at TAFE. He had N14 Apra cars. So he had, leftover parts everywhere.
Yeah.
I found out the N14 struts would fit into the N15. I was like, cool, $200. The kid was like ready for money.
Bargain.
I was like, cool. Put them in. They were set up for racing. So the most positive camber I could have was actually -4. Front and rear, -4.
Ooh, how are the tires on those?
To be
Tyres were
fair, I don't know
non-existent.
whether it was. I don't know if it was the camber wear or just me getting, throttle happy and just every 2 days I'd do a burnout, honestly. Like, I never owned really rear-wheel drive cars, and every time I owned front-wheel drive cars, all my cars were hatches as well, and it would just be burnout after burnout, and I'd be, that guy that everyone was like, you wouldn't do it, come on. Yes, I will.
I keep saying it, but 4 o'clock on Tuesday after TAFE, every time he keeps doing it. Like,
yeah, I got in trouble at TAFE for doing a skid in the car park.
Fucking bet you did.
In a TAFE car.
In a TAFE car.
AU Falcon.
Hard butt.
That blew a motor as well.
The TAFE one?
No, the SR20.
Okay.
The Triple S. I thought that was the best thing ever. I was like, this is the closest thing to the cool Nissan that I've always wanted.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Right? Had all the goodies, got a full exhaust fabbed up, the whole lot, and one day I was going up this massive hill in Colorado, like all the Northern Beaches people will know it. It's Alexander Street, and it was wet, and I had top gear spinning the whole way up the hill, like 5th gear. I get to the top of the hill, fuck.
Rodney paid you a visit.
I get to the top of the lookout, Edgecliff Boulevard, where everyone takes their photos as a P-plater.
Oh, yeah.
I decided to rip another skid while I've got a knocking motor. Drop my mate home to the bottom of Edgecliff. This is like 1 o'clock in the morning on a work night too. I'm still a first year, mind you. All right. Driving home down Wakehurst Parkway, 5th gear, start losing power, 4th, 3rd, so on until I get to 1st gear, and I've just gotten to the end of Wakehurst Parkway. Boom. I've split the block in half. Like, in half. The rod is coming out the side. It is pitch black. There is no street lights. The car is dead. Yeah.
It is that. It really is that.
Yeah. And,
Be honest, were you sad or
thinking?
just, yeah.
I was like, how am I going to get to work tomorrow? Actually, it was, how am I going to tell my old man? That was always the scariest thing growing up. Like, I love him, and he was always supported me through everything and said, you do what you got to do, but don't come crying when it blows up.
I think that's a problem when your dad is into cars. It's like,
He knows.
anything cars, he knows you're going to break it or you're
Yeah.
going to do stupid shit with it. And it's like, the moment you have to tell him something, it's like, fuck.
Because he's been
about
there,
to-
done that himself.
Out
He
of,
knows.
out of curiosity, do you have a personal story that you'd like to share just based on that?
Anything. My old mate's like, you break anything or you ask him about anything about your car? He's like, you fucking break it? Is that why you're asking?
I will give you a follow-up story to that later. Yeah. It happened 2 weeks ago. I still cop it to this day, 24 years old.
Oh, let's
anyways.
continue. Yeah.
2 weeks later, I had a motor in it. I got a motor for $400 out of an automatic model. Had it swapped within 2 days. Perfect. New motor, running. Great.
Was this with dad knowing or not knowing?
No, he gave me a hand.
Oh, okay.
It was after all that, right? Like, he's gone and hooked up the trailer to the back of the four-wheel drive, looked on Marketplace, Gumtree, Facebook, wherever he could, said, I found you a motor. We're going to go get it tomorrow morning. You better be up and awake. Cool, no worries. Had the motor out of the car, back in, had everything else kind of plumbed up, coolant, oils, all that kind of stuff, just your basic stuff. Had it running midnight the next night. 2 days. 2 days
That's
motor
the way
in and
to
out.
do it.
Yeah. Brand new clutch, the whole lot, as you do. And 2 weeks later, I'd done 14 hours worth of driving on a Saturday. I started at the earliest and first car meet I could and went from the northern beaches to the eastern suburbs to the western suburbs to the North Shore, back to the western suburbs again, and then finished up in the northern beaches.
What the fuck?
I went through 2 tanks of fuel and saw almost everyone I know.
Fuck yeah.
You still do that to this day. This happened last year. Because I remember being at a meet one time and you were like, oh no, I've got to get to this one and then this one. And I'm pretty sure I linked up with you later on that same day at
Yeah.
Eastern Creek. And I was like, have you been out all fucking day?
Yeah, I don't do that often anymore, but when I do, like, I got to make the most of it. Like, I'm always at work now.
my Saturdays are my Saturdays, man.
Yeah, like,
I go
that's
one
it.
day, I got to hit 6 events.
Yeah,
morning
pretty
and
much.
night.
The more people see that car, because it comes out once a month for 6 events,
Yeah.
it goes back to bed.
Yeah, true.
Just gets daily to work.
True.
And I finished it up on the local twisty road. I mean, I really finished it up on the local twisty road. I was chasing a VFSS, brand new at the time. Thought I could have him. Had my racing suspension in there from the N14 Apricot.
Oh, bro, you'd win every day.
I had secondhand tires on there. That was
You
the
price
dumbest.
that's better than him.
Yeah, that was the dumbest thing I ever did. Getting in the cars was put secondhand tires because you had no money as an apprentice. You were always spending money on fuel. You were just scraping by like $400 or $500 a week.
Yep.
I hit a pole at the bottom at 120. The front of the car bounces up. I hit my head on the steering wheel. Airbag goes off. Hit the pole. Don't remember much after that. The only thing I remember is one of the boys, Reese, pulls me out of the car. And the first thing that me and my best mate did was grab the last 2 cigarettes on the floor and the last 2 cans of V. Sat there on the side of the road, smoking the cigarettes, drinking the V's at 3 o'clock in the morning, looking at the car. Then I made the phone call to my old man again. Then we called the tow truck. Then the cops showed up. Then I was in hospital until about 7 o'clock the next morning just because standard procedure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was that one. Then I bought a Impreza. That lasted me 2.5 years. That thing got 1 oil change, and only because I put an oil cooler on it. Never had a timing belt. Had max heating rods, eBay specials, old sex spec wheels. It had a $3,000 sound system before it had a service. Like I was stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still am stupid.
But quite honestly, impressive the fact that it didn't have one oil change in 2
It
years.
leaked enough oil that I would be changing it every week, pretty much.
Yeah, fair.
Like it had 280,000 Ks by the time I was done with it.
Yeah.
And that thing got key banged. Like, cut the ignition, flat foot to the floor, and it would shoot flames like 2 meters long. Blew the exhaust off one night completely. Excellent. Sold it to a guy in Canberra. He came to pick it up. I sold it for $6,000. I cut even after spending all that money on that car. He came all the way from Canberra on a train. And I was like, had it up for 6.5, and he's like, I'll give you 4.5 for it. I went, no.
Not a chance. And I know
I
you
said,
need to get on.
I will give you a lift back to the train station.
For $2,000.
Yeah. I thought about it. I was like, I really want another car because I was just coming up to get my full license, and I was like, I want something, with a bit more power.
Yeah.
He ended up agreeing to the $6,000 after sitting outside my work where he met me. So he travelled on a train, bus, ferry, the whole 9 yards. And he was like, okay, I'll take it. 2 hours later. Never saw that car again. Saw it up for sale 2 weeks later. He called me a week earlier going, I want my money back. He took it to Subaru in Canberra. And they quoted him rocker covers, head gaskets.
Everything.
Everything that a Subaru has problems renowned for, they quoted him. They told him, like, the suspension's illegal, blah, 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 such and such. And he's like, they quoted me $5,000. I want my $5,000 back. And I went, mate. I wrote you a receipt that says, as is, where is. And then that car got sold 2 weeks later. I tried to buy it back. The guy wanted to swap for a four-wheel drive, which he didn't have at the time. And I was like, okay, whatever.
Oh, my God.
So with that all being said and the dumb stuff I did and makeshift exhaust and coilovers, secondhand tires, all that kind of stuff, I ended up buying 2008 WRX. Yeah. I bought and sold a lot of cars in between, just stuff that would come into the workshop and they don't need to be mentioned because they lasted me a week and I sold them within a week. And that was pretty much, that car became the car that I really started spending I was growing up and I was really getting into being a mechanic at that point. I was like 4 years into being a mechanic and I knew how important everything was at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where that car started copping big money. And when I say big money, that car I bought for $10,000, I'm now in debt $60,000.
Yeah. For context, this is the one you've got now.
This
right?
is the current car. This
Yeah.
is the one and only car, the car that I'll probably never get rid of
Yeah.
because it's just got that sentimental value, that
100%.
time. I know I'll never get the money back, but unless something really good got offered my way, then possibly.
What would happen if a 33 came for a swap?
It'd have to have at least 500 horses to be like, to match up money-wise, because I could have at the time bought an R33 GDST for $7,000.
Yeah.
I could have done it.
Why didn't you, though?
I picked this up for $10,000 and it had 100,000 Ks on it. And it was
Yeah.
off a mate. So I knew every step of the procedure. I knew everything that had been done to that car, who had worked on that car. People I'd actually trusted because I knew them in the mechanics era and all that kind of stuff. Like, still a mechanic to this day, but they were and now are not.
Yeah.
So I trusted them. And I was like, you know what? Can't be that bad. I'm not going to go buy some, R33 from Liverpool or something that's just had every bit of bodge job done to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, like it's been through a driveline, it's been through a motor, it's been through 4 sets of wheels now and several vinyl wrappings of my own doing. And yeah.
I don't know where Tony comes into the picture in this, but from when I ever first met you, I can attest to what you're saying just based on the parts you've bought that I know of, but also watching you drive that around and looking at it today. It's a fucking sexy beast, man.
Thank you.
Like, it's unbelievable.
Thank you.
So it's I don't know if we save it for part 2. We bring it up now, but like I kind of want to know. It feels like you're kind of naked, but you're just like, I want to know your full parts list to your car now,
Yeah,
because
you just
it's
went through.
impressive. Like, so everything that led you up to this moment is so important, and I think this is important for everyone listening to this, because you have to remember there's people listening to this who are like just getting into this, and
Yeah.
people who are 50 years old.
And don't know me and don't know the car.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But the amount of care, because all of a sudden your tone of voice just completely changed because it's something that you care so much about.
Yeah.
And everyone wants to know the passion and love and TLC, essentially, let's call it, that you put into that car.
I preempted this car. I was telling Tony earlier,
Yeah.
because, you know, the guy that had the car, who I knew him through a group of friends, he would message me and go, you know, what should I do? Because I owned the Subaru. I owned the non-turbo one. He thought I knew everything about Subarus, which I never wanted a Subaru, but I bought one because it came up cheap. And I told him to get this, and this. Pretty much everything that I would have done to the car if I bought it as a stock car. I got lucky, and that car fell into my hands with everything that I wanted done. Intake, floor valve, coilovers of my choice, exhaust of my choice.
So you just found like an ATM that just ticked off the bucket list.
Yeah, pretty much. I was like, I'm watching you. You are in my dreams.
And when the time was right, now it's time to sell it, and I'll buy it.
Yeah.
And sell it for cheap as well, because it's worth shit.
The guy lost his license more times than I can count in that car, and he had 1 point left. And we all went out on a cruise, and I G'd him up that night too. We
Yeah,
came
you
down.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Badly. I was like, I'll take you on in my non-turbo. Because I had, at that point, when the cars didn't cost me that much, I had no regard for the car all my life. I had, apart from my own family, I was that dumb P player that would have no regard. And if I was in the car on my own, you can forget about what speed I'm doing and how sketchy it is.
Yep.
And we were racing down this bridge, and there's a cop hiding up in a side street, and the cop pulls him over. The cop comes out, and I've come flying past the cop doing an excessive amount of speed. The cop comes past me at an even more excessive amount of speed, like to the point where it shocked me, and I felt the whole car just go boom. And I'm like, that was nuts. He went and pulled him over. The week after he got pulled over and said, I've got 1 point left, do you want to buy the car? Was when I pretty much sold the other Subaru and went, I'll take it. Yeah.
That's mine. It was all in the plan.
Yeah.
This guy plays some serious mind games.
No, I think he's just like a businessman since he was a kid. It was like everything was planned, and then he knows what he wants, and it's like it just all goes to plan.
I think a girl would call this manifesting.
I think that is the word for it. I've heard my partner say that multiple times. So
Bro.
you manifested this, didn't you?
Right. I think they should hang out because mine uses that word a lot.
To the point where I know the exact meaning of it.
Okay, so you bought the car off him,
Yeah. And like,
and then where did it start?
man, I drove it around for a while. It had the coilovers in it, which I wanted. And that was when I was like, okay, this thing's still sitting about stock height. And I spent a weekend kind of dialing in the suspension tape. I'd done heaps of research too. Like I went and did all the research because I knew what I wanted to do with this car. I knew I wanted to take this thing through twisty roads and just have fun with it and have it a really well-powered handling car. Nothing over the top crazy and nothing, you know, that wasn't going to get not recognized. So I absolutely sacked it on its ass, maxed the coilovers out, and went, these wheels look too small. That was when I got the first set of wheels. After that, it kind of spiraled. And that was when I was like, I need a front lip. I need this. I need that. Tail lights got bought, you know, and it ended up spiraling to the point where I was like, okay, I'm happy with how the car looks, but what do I do now? And it's like someone heard me because I did something silly one night and I blew the gearbox. And pretty much, I used to love doing helis in that car because no one in the Subaru community was really keen on doing donuts in their Subarus. And I was like, again, you wouldn't do it. Yes, I will. Watch me. And I did it. And I did it all the time to the point where I actually twisted the front diff in the carrier bearings. Like, you got the bearings that are sitting here, you got your diff in the middle, and the diff is crooked. Yeah.
So you bent it.
I had a leak coming from the axle seal. I changed 3 drive shafts, 10 different axle seals from 10 different places, genuine and aftermarket, directional seals, non-directional seals, whatever I could throw in that car. That was like the first big problem I had with that car. I could not work it out. Took it to a guy in Hornsby. His company is DFR, really, really, really good for Subarus around that sort of area. He knows his stuff really well. He pretty much sends me this photo and goes, you see that light at the end of your gearbox? You're not supposed to be seeing that light on that angle. Yeah. And I said, okay, cool. He's like, how did you do this? I said, I don't know. I was just driving one day on the freeway and it started leaking oil.
It's crazy. I was just going 40 kilometer school zone.
Yeah, pretty much. Hit the speed bump and all of a sudden oil.
Like it's a shine of light through the gearbox.
Does every customer call with a problem starts, customer states, I don't know, it just kind of started when I did this.
Oh, all the time.
That way too much.
I was just dropping the school to. I was dropping the kids to school,
Sure
and
you
this
were.
happened.
Yeah, I didn't jump over no curbs or nothing. I don't know how my control arms that bent.
Dude, I've reverse parked perfectly every single day of my life. I didn't cause those scratches and dents. No.
It must have been the people behind me.
Anyway, go on.
So that was when I had to make a sort of a decision at the time. And again, the lecture from my old man. You were being a dickhead again. Yes, I was.
Yeah.
I was doing burnouts. He's seen the TikTok. So this is when TikTok started becoming a thing. And that TikTok sort of went viral. It had like 180,000 views at one point, which was like really good when I first posted that video. And it had like 20K likes. And my old man got TikTok too. And he saw it and he's like, that's what you were doing.
Oh, I thought it was like, that's my son. Damn right, that's good.
Yeah, he comes into my bedroom.
Reminds me of myself.
He comes into my bedroom and goes, this is how you blew your diff, isn't it? Yes, it is. So, and then I made the decision. I went, okay, so I got quoted $4,000 for a rebuilt 5-speed. Now, once I was getting into the Subaru scene and I was like, I know the 5-speeds are class. I want to eventually push more power out of this car. I did what everyone does and does a 6-speed, which should have bought an STI, right? Factory 6-speed, Brembos, the whole lot. And the guy at Macca at DFR really looked after me. He sold me his personal conversion that he had sitting in his workshop for his personal Forester race car for $4,000, fitted and installed. This was the first time I've never worked on my own car and had someone else do it. So when I knew what that was, that price, and I went, I know what I would charge. I know what the conversion's worth. I kind of said, just do it. And to this day, it's been in the car for 2 years now. And it's copped some serious abuse. Like, it has had limiter launches.
It was a deal you can't notice it.
Yeah, right? One offer I couldn't refuse. So that was that one. Then I was like, you know what? I've spent this much money. Why don't I just go buy some really nice wheels? And I bought brand new wheels for the first time ever. Great. Rocked them for a year.
It's a good feeling, right?
It was a great feeling. And the boys at Northern Beaches Tyres looked after me because they work across the road from my workshop and they've known me for a long time and they did me a really great deal of numbers I cannot disclose. And I couldn't say no. So, again, a deal I couldn't refuse. Put the wheels on the car, was really happy. And that's when I attended my first Subi Nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Started seeing what was really involved with the Subarus. The twist mounts, the polished manifolds, the big front mounts, all that kind of stuff. And that was when I was like, you know what? I've got a front mount intercooler sitting at work off my mate's car. I've got some spare intercooler piping. I know a mate who's just ripped out his hot side of his turbo for a twist mount setup. And I pretty much made the intercooler and the kit, all the brackets, myself.
What?
Yeah. That is not an off-the-shelf intercooler kit.
I'm pretty sure Grimspeed, Perrin, Pulsar Turbo, everyone who supplies parts to Subaru would be fucking impressed with that.
Cost me $200.
Fuck.
When you work in a workshop.
Yeah.
$100. I had access to a welder, a grinder, and a sawzall.
Fair play to you, man.
That is all I needed. And I had next door, the guys sold silicon joiners. The guy up the road was a fabricator. He did all my bead rolling for me on his bead roller. He charged me like $20 a bead roll. I only needed a few. And then it ended up being like, he's like, you know what, I'll do $20 a pipe. I only had 3 pipes to do. Great. $60. Away you go. And I had it installed in pretty much, I took a day off work. I was at work, but I took a day off work. I took one of the hoists at work and said to my boss, like, I really want to do this to my car. Can I take a day off and just do this? He let me go. My boss is like, Really easy with that kind of stuff. Kind of just lets me do what I need to do as long as I keep up the work at the workshop. And I had that intercooler fitted in about 6.5 hours, 7 hours.
Fuck.
And that was after, having to measure everything, cut everything.
Fab it up, yep.
Had a crack on the TIG welder. So some of the ones that are behind the front bar, because it is not a show car by any means. It's just the daily driver, and I like to have it looking clean, but it's not perfect. The ones behind the bar were my practice TIG welds. They're not pretty, but there's no boost leaks throughout the thing at all.
Yeah, it works.
Right? $200. People are like, where'd you get your front mount from?
You want me to make you one?
Have you come up with your own logo yet? Like,
I thought about it, and I thought about the man hours that were involved in that, and how much I was so angry about it, to the point where I couldn't get my front bar back on, right? Because I forgot you had to cut the front bar because they never came out factory front mount. So I drove from my workshop in Brookvale to my old man's workshop in Cromer, which is like a 10, 15-minute drive past the police station, with my front bumper bar in my boot.
A big front mount sitting there. Just look at me.
Yeah, and literally the number plate was cable tied to the top of the intercooler.
oh my God.
Yeah, great, perfect, right? Anyway, get to the workshop and my old man starts bringing up like an actual serious issue. What have you done with your crash bar? Here you go. I had two pieces in my hand because I tried to cut the crash bar up to fit around the intercooler. Yeah. That's when I realized I was spent too long working on this, and the crash bar was the last thing to do.
And you just wanted to make it fit.
It had so many different cuts in it, and it was like, you're better off without a crash bar. So my old man, as he is, rigger, panel beater, knows how to weld really well. He gets the ends of the crash bar, and he gets a piece of, I reckon, 2 inches by 20 mil wide steel, and it's 3 mil thick. It is. You're not breaking that. He welds it to the ends of the crash bar, the mounting points of the crash bar, and sits it behind the intercooler. I now have a bull bar behind my intercooler. Yeah. Yeah. No one will ever know, but now everyone's going to know.
Yeah, you've released that to the public.
It was one of those secrets that I kept for so long. And I had so many people ask me, why didn't you just buy the intercooler bracket from, Mishimoto or whoever? And I went, I'd have to buy the whole intercooler kit. I paid $200 for this one.
Yeah.
Because I want that hidden bull bar. I ain't got no poles anymore.
That is the only reason why I don't have a strut brace. Because that crash bar mounts straight to the chassis rails, and it is so solid.
Yeah. Fuck.
So that was that. And then
Might hit up your old man for some work on the MX-5, I'm not going to lie.
mate, you may as well. Get up to the workshop he works at, and I'll look after you.
Do a full car cage around it.
Yeah, I think so.
Just cage it up. We could spin it.
He's going to
think
kill
so.
me if he sees this. He's going to go, what have you done? I have my weekends, and those are my weekends.
He's like, who the fuck is this Tom dude? He keeps fucking calling me.
Who's this 6-foot guy in this little hairdresser's car? Those are the exact words that would come out of his mouth.
Yeah.
Because I mentioned I wanted an MX-5 once. He goes, you're not turning on me, are you? Sorry.
Fair. Just wait. It's going to be an absolute track slut soon, so it's going to be fun.
Yeah, no. All props to MX-5 owners. They are, after driving a few, they are pretty good for... They're just your straight go-kart.
Well, you're going to see every part of it, considering the fact you're around the corner, but we're filming it every week, so it's like every part we do to it. The roll cage came yesterday.
I'm going to put my phone on Do Not Disturb for the next couple of weeks.
Just block it.
Yeah, my hours are my hours, right?
Hi, I need your help again.
Hello, you want a cashier?
Boy. How about an intercooler?
You want that booba?
So, yeah, and everything kind of spiraled, and you got the car tuned and all that kind of stuff, as you do, because Subaru is being temperamental. You have to tune them every time you touch something. I went through 4 tuners to get to where I am today. I'm not going to mention names, not going to mention any of that. I'm not about bad-mouthing other workshops and whatnot.
Yeah, no, neither we are.
Yeah.
So everyone's good at their own thing, their own cars, whatever, but the first place I went to, I wasn't happy. Took it to another place. He showed me all the flat spots, pinging, etc., everything that was wrong. Then they tuned it, and then from there it went to another place because I wasn't happy again. And it just... Every time someone had touched the car, the one thing that I couldn't do was tune, and I still to this day can't tune, and I'm too scared to tune because I know how many hours I spent putting that new motor in there, and I do not want to be a cause of blowing it up just because I pressed the wrong button on a laptop. So I'm now at a point where I'm quite happy with the car. I mean, there's still a little things I know that's wrong with it, but you can't go to there and be like, this is wrong, because they'll say, this is normal. You've asked for this much power, blah, 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 et cetera, though. So this is how the car's going to drive. So, yeah, I mean, after that, it was, like I said, poorly tuned, and I took it to the drags.
I was going to say, because I can't wait to get into the part of the story where, like, you've done all this work.
Yeah.
Now comes, like, the evolution, because, like, I knew you went to Subinats. I knew you started entering shows, and I knew you started, like...
Taking it to the actual track.
Yeah, because I was really happy with how the car was progressing, because I'd spent all this money, and I was like, it's fun when you're on the street and you got P-platers and I-30s and Golfs and stuff, and they're like, yeah, we'll run you just because you got fancy wheels, and you leave them for dead, and you're like... Then you get that heart palpitation, you go, was that a cop?
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, okay, I've spent too much money on this. My license is my livelihood. Being a mechanic, I have to road test stuff every day.
And your happiness.
That also. And yeah, that's when I went to my first ever drag night. And that was with a standard motor, standard turbo, 180 kilowatts, 98, and it cracked a 13.8 with a
Fucking dope.
With a 1.8 60 foot.
Dude.
I knew the car had a little bit of go, but I was like, 13's pretty good. 13's not like race car territory, but I'm pretty happy as a street car. Like it was the perfect power for twisty roads and blasting someone off the line and just having fun with the boys when we went out driving, and it made all the cool noises and whatnot. And it sounds like a veil, to be honest, when it flutters. I just got no blow off valve now.
Yeah, but the experience of just even being on that dragway.
Right. I started losing the adrenaline rush and the anxiety when I was on the street.
Yeah.
When I was weaving in and out of cars like a complete idiot and doing all the twisty runs wrong side of the road because you were like, how much fast can I go if I cut this corner? And I started losing that adrenaline rush, and it kind of became almost boring. And I was like, I can't do this every night, because I was up at the twisty road every night without fail throughout my whole P-plater experience. It took me 6 months to take the WRX to a twisty road because I was just so over it.
Yeah.
And that was when I kind of got the bug for going faster and faster and faster. So as you do, you start doing performance mods. You know, you start doing things that aren't just for aesthetics or noise or whatever. And that was when I went to go to another tuner, got some more power out of it, as I was saying, and the tune was a little bit off, and I dropped cylinder 2 in compression. Everyone says cylinder 4 drops, but I dropped 2. Cylinder 4 had the best compression out of all of them. And to this day, every Subaru owner I tell is shocked. Every Subaru mechanic, shocked.
It's just that one of out of every 1,000, right? Like it's...
So then I went and did the motor, ran ethanol, hit you up for parts, hit you up for stuff, and hit up everyone I could, and was like, I need this. I was just impatient, and I was just like, I want to get this motor back together. And I ended up pumping out not a huge number to a lot of people, but for a Subaru, 230 kilowatts and 608 newton meters on ethanol with a standard STI turbo VF48 is apparently cranking out some good numbers from what I've been told. And now 608 newton meters of torque. I don't know about you, but I get all-wheel drive burnouts.
Yes.
That child is still in me.
Yeah.
And went to the drags again. Actually, did roll racing first because I'd never done roll racing. Did a test and tune. I got 12 runs in, man, like for $120.
It's great, eh?
12 runs against some cars that are around the same horsepower level and like.
Do you think you could share a little bit more on that though, like the experience? Because I think because I would like to think that roll racing is something good for everyone to be a part of, but I fully understand people who get turned off because they're a little bit, let's just say they're a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for?
It's like they're afraid to go to the same.
Intimidated.
It's like everyone sees the big twin turbos, all the workshops are there.
They see precision racing and they're like, oh, okay, not for me.
Well, that's all you see on social media, and that's another big part of the car scene why I'm sort of a little bit distant. But for me, everyone was like, oh, just come to a proper night, blah, blah, blah. But I've always grown up with boys that I know that are older than me who are at that point in their lives where they've worked hard enough and owned businesses and whatnot to have full-blown race cars. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, we're talking like, I'm not going to say numbers because that's disclosed again, but like 4-digit numbers.
Very tasty 4-digit numbers.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd been with those boys, and I've been passenger, and that again got me more of a bug.
Yeah.
And then I started questioning whether the Subaru was right. Yeah. And man, like going to a real roll race night is cool. The atmosphere is great, and there's so many people there, and you meet heaps of people when you're in the pits, because it's not often you get to go into the pits and meet other workshops, and you know, like TRP is a big name, and I've actually messaged Danielle Rigoli, who drives the yellow Evo 8, I think it is, Mitzi, and Evo 7 Mitzi, and she is the loveliest person, considering her car is one of the quickest cars there. Mm-hmm. Even Dom and Tony and all those people are just so friendly, and you don't think so.
They all are.
They've got such big names. The boys at Precision, they're all nice guys, you know.
Yeah, Adam, everyone like it's.
Yeah, and that's a great experience in itself. But for anyone who, in my opinion, has lower horsepower numbers and just wants to experience it, a test and tune night is the way to go.
Yeah.
Always.
Good shout.
Yeah.
Test and tune night. I mean, my first drag racing event was on a State of Origin night.
Oof.
A lot of people are going to hate me for that. But I got 11 runs on the drag strip.
That's like $50 a night, right?
Yeah.
Last time I went, I got 2 runs. 3 almost, but I was like ready to go home at that point.
Yeah.
And so the test and tune, I got 12 runs for $120.
It's dope, eh?
Man, I was racing Evos with 300 kilowatts and other Subarus with, you know, a little bit higher, a little bit lower, same power figures, but it was racing cars that aren't just going to leave me 7 bus lengths behind.
Yeah.
It was actually
Fun.
fast and furious.
Yeah.
That was it. You lined up at the lights and you started rolling, and that adrenaline hits. When that light goes green, you forget everything. It's exactly how it says. For that 10 seconds or less, you forget everything that's going on. All you're worrying about is perfect shift.
Yeah.
Get in front of this guy. Perfect shift, you know? And it is the whole reason I remembered why I spent so much money on the car, so many hours on the car, because I did everything myself being a mechanic. I'm not going to, apart from the gearbox conversion, which we spoke about, but I did everything myself. And that's a lot of hours and a lot of my weekends that went to that car. And
This is proving your worth.
not even proving your worth, just
You're
Proving
happy
your
with
work.
the product that you built, and then it's like you finally get to enjoy it.
Feeling
No
of
one's scared.
accomplishment, right? Like, I'm like, you know what? I've actually built a car that I can call a street race car.
Yep.
Yeah,
Right.
something you're having fun and you're enjoying it.
Exactly. Like, I daily drive this thing. I drove it to the track, raced it for 12 runs, absolutely beat the shit out of it, drove it home. Still had half a tank of fuel. Like, couldn't complain. And again, you meet more people. Even test and tune nights are even friendlier, because these people who have come out on their own, like I did, I went out with my partner and I took my old man, because as much as he gave me the lectures, as much as he gave me the hard time for you've broken it, you've done something stupid, he did help me a lot.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for him, like doing the motor, doing all the other stuff, without his guidance here and there and bodywork wise and stuff like that, like without my old man, I probably would have just spent twice as much money, because, you know, I've just gone, no, not even going to bother.
Yeah.
Because I work on everyone else's stuff all day.
Yep.
So I said to him, I said, I'm going to a roll racing night. I said, I know you've been in the big fast car, but I want you to come in my car just to share the experience with me. And
He would have loved that, eh?
man, he came out with me and he was so G'd up, he wanted to drive.
All of a sudden, you got no time. He's like, no, fuck off. I'm driving.
He literally said to me he wanted to drive. And I said, I didn't argue with it. I said, I will go upstairs and buy you a second driver band as a thank you.
Yeah.
He said, no, this is your car. This is your fun night. You enjoy it. He actually took off his passenger wristband and gave it to one of my best mates that came out to support me. I took it off and gave him the old dodgy stick it back on, just so that my mate could enjoy it with me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it was just having those people around me, my partner who was very, very supportive, because there was a lot of late nights in the garage, you know, like pulling this motor down and pulling it back together. And I spent a month, I reckon, pulling this motor apart. By the time I got money for parts and parts came and whatnot, just having those people around you was one thing, and it was great, and I couldn't thank them enough. And it was just a really, really great feeling. You know, your friends, your family, whoever supports your passions and supports you as a person. And then meeting the new people who are in the same thing. Like, You can't get that anywhere else but a racetrack,
Yep.
in my opinion. A car meet as well, like, sure, there are people who are interested in cars, but the people who have spent the money to build them to be fast, not just look good, they know the passion. They know the thought process.
Yep.
So
You'd agree with that, eh?
Yeah, it's the hands-on people that understand what goes through building a car than the ones that send their cars off. Some do get it, but it's a different level. We actually build, you know, the sweat and tears that you go through, this not working, that's not working. You bought something that's right, but it's actually not right. Or you wanted to do this, but it wasn't that way.
yeah, you waited months for parts.
Yeah.
You go to unbox it and put it on the car, and you go,
Wrong part.
great.
Sometimes even getting it and it's damaged. You've waited several months and then there's something wrong with it. And it's like, well, they're going to build another one for you, which is another couple months again. And it's like,
Yeah,
fuck.
not even that. Like basic maintenance on a car too. Like
Oh,
the car came up to a timing belt, I reckon 3 weeks before I blew the motor. So I did the whole timing belt kit, and timing belt kits for Subarus aren't cheap. They're a lot more expensive than your basic Echo, Corolla, whatever. And they're a little bit more difficult to do.
because the way your engine's fucking so spaced
right?
out,
Like, you've
man.
got four
Like,
cams, and they're under compression, and they
Yeah.
just decide to go, "Phew," and that's it. Your motor's gone if you don't get it right. And that's 3 weeks before the motor blew, and then that was it again. Like there goes a $700-800 timing belt kit plus coolant, oil, whatever, because
Yep.
you did a service. Just have to put another one in because you're not going to put a timing belt that's already been in a blown motor, regardless whether it would blew up badly or not. You're not
Yeah.
going to put a used timing belt on a brand new motor you've just spent X
Yeah.
amount of dollars on.
it's just going to go anyway.
It's
Like,
just silly. You're already there. You've spent that money. Spend the $800 again.
Yep.
You know, and things like that are setbacks to you. You do question, why am I doing this? And then you go to the racetrack, and you go, this is why I'm doing this.
And I want more.
And then the night finishes, and then you go, yes, I want another 100 horsepower.
Oh yeah, and the
I
whole
want that 0.5.
well, the whole off the streets thing too. Like that's another dynamic of it as
Yeah.
well. I know when I need to go to the racetrack purely because I start driving more aggressively again. Like I'm a P plater all over again.
I'm fucking so happy you said that. This is the reason why I like. So CCA, I've said it before a million times. We're so invitational and open to the fact of like we want to connect the street to the track. It's to stop the half the shit that you spoke about just before about being silly or stupid on the road or whatever it is. I fucking guarantee you don't do it if you go to the track. I guarantee it because you understand what your car can and cannot do. Number one, so you've gained knowledge, and number 2 or 3.
I think you're up
But
to two.
but you understand, like, you don't need to do that anymore because, like, I'm just fucking already sent it so
Yeah.
hard for one night. I'm
You're-
kind of done for the month.
You're
Like,
done. You're like, you don't want to drive the car hard. You're like, the car's performed well. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to push my luck anymore. I've had a great time. I'm exhausted from driving. I know I can still drive.
Yep.
You know, some people think they forget if they can drive or not because they haven't done anything stupid in a while. That's when they go do something stupid and they remember they forgot how to drive.
Yeah.
And you just, for the next month or two, you do not go over the speed limit.
Agreed.
You do not rev your car right out. You do not hit full boost. You don't leave anywhere stupidly.
Agreed.
It's just that drive home. You're like, the highway's 100, you're doing 60, and like, I've had my enough time on it.
Right.
Now I just want to drive safe.
Yeah.
This is a safe environment.
It takes you 40 minutes to get out there and it's an hour and a half drive, but on the way home it takes you 2.5. Because you just go, I'm capped.
Yeah.
Literally.
I've been at over 100 all night.
Yep.
Yeah.
I need to do something less than that.
Yeah.
Your brain actually, I don't think, can handle it. Like, I just don't
The
think it's
serotonin levels are just way too high.
so
I need
high
to
that
come
you're
back
mellowed.
down.
You're
Yeah.
so mellowed with how high you are.
I guess you could call it a come down, right? Like a lot of people say it, cars and racing are their drug.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that's it. It's
That's because the risk and reward is so high too. Because if you fuck it up,
yeah.
imagine how
You know you've got to
motorbike
do it again.
drivers feel. I've always thought about this. Not always the biggest motorbike fan, but like, I can only imagine how they feel when they do drags or when they're on the circuit. Like,
My boss was just looking at buying another bike today, and I saw the cost of a bike, and I had no idea.
it's way cheaper.
No. I've looked on Marketplace. I did want a bike license to sort of get rid of that car phase and be like, I need another adrenaline rush, and that's when I started going to the track and didn't need it. And they were all like, under $5,000. You can get a pretty decent Lambs bike.
Oh, to buy. Yeah.
My boss looked at a brand new bike today. This was today, and it is $32,000. Yeah. I could not believe it. I looked at the price tag. I looked at the bike. I'm like, yeah, okay, the bike's nice. It's hot. But $32,000, I could buy a whole nother Rexy. I could have a dedicated track car for that money.
But like 1/4 of what a car technically is in terms of material.
Man, it is not even a quarter. It's less.
Yeah.
It's like an eighth.
Yeah.
You've literally got a motor and then, I suppose, a strut brace around it.
Even the discs of the brakes are like fucking
A tenth.
Yeah. You can't even get a car with brakes that small.
You could build the bike. You could build the bike with the hood of a car. Fold it around and you'll be there. Probably we're gonna get so much hate with bike fans.
Oh no!
I
look,
love bikes,
No,
but
no
we're just saying.
disrespect to bikes at
No,
all.
we
but
love
like,
it all.
And fuck.
Like it's what you love, what you get your adrenaline from, what you get your passion for. Like, sure, by all means. But I just looked at the price and I just went,
Fuck. I just don't have the balls either.
I don't.
I can't. I don't have the fucking balls to ride a bike. Don't.
I have had my share of riding people's bikes because that adrenaline rush. You could say I'm an adrenaline junkie in a way. And I thought about it, but I just knew. I was the complete opposite. I wasn't scared of falling off or hurting myself. I knew I'd be stupid enough to fall off or be stupid or to hurt myself. I knew that I'd be on the back wheel, you know. I used to go get coffee and food from up the road and take my mate's dirt bike that used to live in the workshop. And I'd go up there, full work uniform, no helmet, nothing, no license, just my phone on me. Yeah. And that's why I never bought a bike. I was stupid.
It's scary how complacent you are with knowing what you would do wrong.
You have to be. You really have to be. Like, if you really enjoy a position that you're in with life and your cars,
Sure.
you have to remember who you've got to come home to. Like I said, at the racetrack, just having my partner there, my old man and my best friend that I've had for 12 years, you remember you got those people around you and you can't afford to be stupid because of the heartbreak you would give them. It would be a selfish act to just forget about it all. That's my opinion.
That's very important. That's something that I don't think a lot of people think about until they get into a phase where, or even more mature, you could say. It's
Yeah.
that the stupid shit you do isn't smart.
Yeah.
And there's a lot behind it.
Agreed.
That's why we say, take it to the tracks. It's a lot safer there. It's a controlled environment. Like, you're putting your cars at full capacity, but it's pretty much a controlled
All your safety
environment.
regulations
You'll
there for it.
very quickly learn what your car can do around a corner.
Yeah.
What speed it can actually
Either
do
the
around
hard
a corner.
way or in like a heart beating, I need to slow down way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it can go fucking tits up if you take it too far, obviously. But yeah.
Am I too far away?
No, that's perfect. Oh,
I don't know. It's in case I get really loud.
There you go. That's it.
Yeah. But Ben was like, just be you. And yeah. So everything that I said on that race segment was like it. I've seen some people, like I said at when we had dinner, man, that rally art that flipped again just doesn't know the limits of the car. So
But that, like, yeah, you're right. And arguably, that's going to the track and learning that shit. There's nothing better than going to driving school.
yeah. The courses they do on track where they actually there's an instructor next to you.
Yeah.
Or even the wet pan ones where they teach you when you lose control or what's the limits of your
defensive
car.
driving. Like even aside from going to the racetrack to enjoy your car or whatever you've built or whatever you want to do and get some adrenaline, everyone I feel should have done going to their P's a defensive driver course.
I feel like it should be mandatory.
Emergency stops, you know, like what happens if your car spins out down a hill, wet days, what happens if your tire blows off, you know, what happens if all of a sudden your car just starts stalling, you got no power steering, what do you do? Just all those little things that a lot of people I've seen panic and have accidents, you know, because you a modern day car, you lose power, you've got no assisted braking, and your brake pedal goes rock hard. You could be pushing right down on that car, but that will not stop. And that's how 5-car pileups happen. So what do you do in that situation? You know, people go, "Oh, I just kept going." Well, no, you should have been taught how to avoid the situation.
I just aim right for him.
A lot of people just look at the brake pedal. Right?
You're right, though. And I think this is so debatable. I genuinely believe we should bring back in the rules, like, say, for example, in England, everyone has to learn their license on a manual. You can drive an automatic. You have to pass a test on a manual. Or if you go to Scandinavia up in Finland, where all those fucking nuts, crazy rally fucking drivers come from, who fucking drive Subarus and fucking Audis and the rally. But dude, fuck just doing it in the dirt. They're doing it in the snow.
Yeah.
Like,
but on top of that, like, it's common sense now. People are lacking common sense.
yeah.
Just because you've put your indicator on doesn't mean you actually have right of way to merge into me. I don't have to actually slow down for you. You wait till you can actually safely merge.
Yeah.
That's how that works, you know?
Or actually put your fucking blinker on maybe to let me
Right.
know that you are going to merge.
Yeah.
Don't just do it as you're merging.
Don't brake 50 meters away from the stoplight really, really hard. Yeah. And don't pull out while I'm doing, you can see I'm doing 20 over the speed. Don't pull out in front of me. I never go 20 k's over the speed limit.
This is kind of good because this is kind of, we're getting into like pet peeves now and also shit that's happening on the road. And I think this is a really good segue. I don't know what you think, Tony, but like coming into,
If you want a segue,
I want horror stories.
yeah, being a mechanic, those kinds of things. People come in after working on their own car. I have no idea. The stuff that I have seen.
Customer states.
Customer states. I saw fluid. Thought it was brake fluid. Clamped my lines off. I now have no brakes. Like, I've had cars, man, like, rock up to work without brakes. Oh, how'd you get it here?
What do you mean?
Like, you pushed on the brake pedal. They've got a leak somewhere, or they've run out.
Oh, it's just gone.
They've run out of brakes so far that there is no pad material left. The piston has popped out of the caliper, and the fluid has come out past the seals. They're literally braking with the piston of the caliper.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Right. But you ask them how they got the car there, and how long has this been going on for? Oh, it kind of just happened.
It's miraculous how some people can still get their cars to the shop and it just dies there.
Where did you drive from? North Sydney. That's a 25-minute
Yeah.
drive to Brookvale. Down hills, past speed cameras.
With what, like 25, 30 traffic lights? So you had to stop a lot.
Yeah.
And our faces was like, how the fuck are you still alive?
Right? And it's just like, you kind of know, you're going to have to do handbrake shoes on that car too, because they've just been using the e-brake. And
Yeah.
like emergency brake. That one thing that people don't do a defensive driver's course for and suddenly learn last minute. Oh, handbrake. Yeah, I've seen some stuff like, probably the most recent memorable one is a socket in a bell housing, in a gearbox bell housing. Yeah, like where the clutch is situated on the back of the motor.
Okay, give me the car. Can you tell me obviously not the name. How did this person approach? How did this come to fruition?
Okay, so it didn't
I
even
can't
come.
find a socket in my toolbox.
Well, no, it didn't even come from the customer. It came
No,
from
I know,
another
I just mean,
workshop.
like-
No, it came from another workshop.
No.
Yeah. No, it was nothing done by this workshop. Okay. This workshop came to me. He's a really good like workshop buddy of the workshop I work at, and he's just at that age now where he can't do. It was a four-wheel drive. It was a Nissan Navara. Okay. They're a big box. They're heavy gearboxes. You're getting a bit older. Your shoulders are gone. Whatever. You can't do that on your own. You need someone who is younger, or you need several people.
AKA you.
Yeah. And his words exactly were, oh, the customer came in and said, I got my mate to do a clutch for me. He said he used to be a mechanic and he did it for $500. Like, $500 is very cheap. There is 8 hours worth of labor, like literally on the guide. Like if you look for how to quote something, like there's a guide and they say rough estimation time, it's 8 hours. $500 for 8 hours. Like I would have done the same thing. I would have been like, yeah, no worries, do my clutch. And he said there was a weird rattling noise from the clutch, probably 10 minutes after driving it. Like he heard it and then kind of went away and came back, and then it stayed constant. It took him to the point where he couldn't push the clutch pedal down to bring the car into the mechanic. Now I put this car on a hoist. I had to, you start it in gear, you get it going, and you just bunny hop it into the workshop. Put it on a hoist, and there's this giant hole in the bell housing. And I've gone, what? I had no words. I looked at it and I went, what has done this? I thought maybe the CCA hammer just to the side. But I kind of had a look. I pulled the slave off, which actuates your clutch fork, etc., for those of you who don't know. And the fork kind of came free because there was no hydraulic pressure on it. Mm-hmm. And I heard a clunk. And I kind of like brought the car down, got a mirror, had a torch. There is a socket a 1/2 inch deep socket, so it's about that big, 11 mil socket. And I know, I've done a few of these Navaras, I know you don't need an 11 mil socket at all. Like, it's all 10s, 12s, 14s, 17, 19, right? Why is there an 11 mil socket in the bell housing? And it's punched a hole in the bell housing. And it gets better because the guy drove it like that for 6 months.
No.
Yes. His mate told him it was normal for a new clutch.
No.
Yeah.
Mechanic mate.
Yeah, my mechanic.
Like, you see some backyard stuff and, like, the things that, no disrespect to four-wheel drive owners, but the things that they have to do sometimes, like, which is pretty creative to get your car back to a workshop from the middle of the bush. Like, the stuff they jam into brake lines, for example, when the brake line gets torn on a rock or something.
Oh, bro, the shit I've done myself to help my mates get back from the Walgan Valley in the Blue Mountains is laughable. I'm talking zip tie laughable.
I have a similar story. I have had to do that.
Brand new Range Rover, Ford Range Rover. Didn't turn out to be so great, did it?
Oh, yeah, that's a bit nasty. Like, man, and just... Yeah, it's bad. The stuff people should not touch. That's why we have tow trucks, guys. Like $200, $300, depending on where you are. Like, just call the tow truck. You're not gonna hurt anyone by doing that. Don't drive your car if you don't know what's wrong with it.
You're going to cause so much more damage and money for yourself.
Not even that, man. Like you take out a family of kids.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just because you were too cheap to just call your insurance company or, put an extra little bit of money into a tow truck or ask someone who's got a trailer or something even. Don't do it. Please don't do it. If you don't know how to work on a car, don't do it.
Yep.
Sure, ask for advice, have a mechanic there with you and you want to learn, do that. Experience working on your own car. But don't do it if you don't know or have anyone with you.
Yep. And don't cheap out.
Yeah.
Don't cheap out.
Neg 4 coilovers. $200. You can't argue with that deal.
All right. So anyway, was that the worst one, or you must have heaps? Both of you must have heaps.
Being a mechanic, going out with mates with the cars, you must get heaps of shit. It's like, because you know what you're doing, all your mates want your help, and they expect it for free.
Yeah, this is exactly it. Like, I unfortunately cut off a lot of people I used to hang out with for that reason. Every weekend that I had free was spent on their cars, like rebuilding their cars. If they've just bought cheap cars and it needs this, and that. And I was at their houses, like lugging around all my tools in the back of my modified car at the time, going, I can't be doing this anymore. And because they're mates and you feel, you've grown up with those boys, whether in school or outside of school, and you've been mates with them for years, you go, look, I'll do you a favor, you'll probably return it eventually. But it got to like 8 months of this, almost a year. And I was like, I've not been paid a cent. Okay, yeah, I've been shouted lunch here and there, whatever, but like, I spent 4 hours today on your car. Now I'm going to go home, have a shower, and come back here just so we can drive my car. I was always the Deso. Yeah. So then it was my fuel on top of that and all that kind of stuff. And that's when I was always told, don't give favors. Know your worth. Like, to the right people, you know a person by how they operate. Sure, give a favor, you're going to return. But I reckon I lost a lot of money, and I did lose friends because of it, because of my good personality and just, yeah, look, I'll help you out. No worries. You're in the middle of nowhere. I'll help you out. Because I was taken advantage of.
Yeah, but were they truly friends is the...
Exactly. I mean,
so did you lose anything? Time, love.
Time,
Yeah.
blood,
Yeah.
sweat. Some tears were shed.
Yeah. Yeah. I know the feeling, man. I feel like we all probably go through those experiences.
Like, how many times has someone hit you up and gone, hey, just because I know you, can you give me a set of this for this price? Or can you do it at whatever you pay for it?
Yeah, the most I get is you've got a workshop. Not the Miata build, but...
That's because he's a co-owner.
You are
of
not
that.
a real friend.
Not at all.
No, it's like, you've got tools, I want to come borrow your tools. You got this, you got that. Come help me out on this. Come help.
Yeah, but you
I
got
feel
that
bad-
kind
I
of
feel
re-
bad
yeah,
if
but
I've
you've got
got
that
a-
relationship where you can do that comfortably.
100%.
With Miata, 100%. But it's like other car people. It's like Some you don't even talk to, like you barely talk to, but they've got your number, and all of a sudden, here's your best fucking mate. They would do everything for you, but I need this favor first.
People you haven't spoken to in like 8 years since you were like 12 years old.
You don't even know half those people.
Yeah, and they're like, I've got your number because we got lost on a cruise and you knew where we were going.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're a mechanic, right? I need brakes for my car. You reckon you can do them this week? Or how about now? Has now a good time?
Yeah, can I drop the car off?
Yeah.
All of a sudden you're charging.
It's not my workshop as well. Like,
charging $200 more than what they found the quote for the brakes. I was like, I don't understand. I thought you'd help me out. To be like, yeah, you didn't work out my time, my labor, and my fucking time for just out of my kind heart for doing it.
well, that's another horror story, right? Like, coming along with when it comes to paying for things. Like, as a mechanic, if I have taken my car to other workshops for tunes and the gearbox, I didn't argue with those prices. I know what you're paying for. You're not paying for the time. Like, say I quote you 4 hours on a job, but it takes me 2 hours. It's taken me the 4 years of TAFE.
Correct.
6 years of being a mechanic to know how to do that job in 2 hours and do it efficiently and right.
Yep.
You're not paying for my time on the day. You're paying for my experience. And also, I'm charging you a lot less than what a workshop would charge you. Like, you don't come to me just because you want a favor. Like, come to me because you want to be looked after.
Yep.
You know?
It's all about how you portray yourself, but that is you could apply that honestly to so many different industries, and I fucking
100%.
say it all the time. I know the story of a dude. There was a software company. I know this is completely off topic, but they had to contract and outsource this guy to come and fix their huge bug in their system for this software company, right?
Cockroach kind of bug or like tarantula kind of bug?
No, I'm talking like fucking mad Trojan horse virus Pornhub bug.
Like one of those 90s movies where they're all pixelated and
100%.
giant tarantulas through the city.
100%. So this bug is in their system, and they've got all these people, all these like developers and stuff, but they can't figure it out. So they've got to outsource it, right? They've been working weeks and weeks and hours and hours and hours to figure it out. This guy comes along, and it's the analogy that I'll use. It's like as if he came in for half an hour, flicked a switch on and off, and walked out, but he fixed the job.
That's like a telemarketing call. Have you tried turning it on and off again?
He charged, I can't remember what it was, but it was like 500 grand or whatever for the job. It's a big job. What we're talking about is mass scale.
This isn't the wrong industry.
Yeah,
I know,
like
but
an ID.
But you have to think about it. If you're a major corporation and you got this problem, no one can solve it in your team, you've got to outsource it, you'll pay whatever it is. The problem is that the company thought that this guy would take weeks and weeks to do it. He did it in half an hour. They argued.
That's experience.
Thank you. He argued the point. They argued against him. Why would we pay you when you only did half an hour? You go, you didn't pay me for my time. You pay me for what I know.
Yeah.
Knowledge is everything.
Knowledge is power.
Exactly right. Like if you know how to do something and you're that kind of person that wants to keep things to yourself and just wants to be that kind of person that just says, no, I learnt this. I had to do the hard yards to do it. I'm not sharing the information. Sure, you can charge whatever you want and people will pay, you know, but like, that's ridiculous, you know, like, and that's what my reaction to that is what people are reacting to when I say it's going to cost you this much, but you can have your car back within this time. They go, but that doesn't add up. Yeah. You're paying for the experience.
Bro, I'd pay over the moon for someone to actually physically come to my house to actually work on my car.
I'm not available anymore. I mean, for a special fee. I just can't tell my partner about it.
Do you have any horror stories? No, you know what? Sorry, I'm probably labeling it wrong. Not horror stories, just funny shit where you're just like, what the fuck?
You get them every day. It's
Yeah, today was a good one. Today's normally a
You
thing
kick
I do
off.
to the new guys. Yeah. You guys would have seen it on my Instagram story.
I saw it today. This is about the oil, right?
Yeah. So Isuzu trucks, the bigger ones, concrete trucks, all that kind of stuff, they've got these 2 cartridge filters and they're like the size of these bottles here, but they're like that round. They hold 3-4 litres worth of oil in each one, and it is impossible to not make a mess. In the 6 years I've been a mechanic, heavy vehicle, light vehicle, this is the one oil filter I've had trouble with since the beginning. And the only reason I play this prank is because someone did it to me the first time. These oil filters just make a mess. They're in a bad spot. They're hard to sort of reach if the truck's a bit higher than usual. And the oil that comes out of them, when you get to the last thread on this filter, and it just drops. There is no warning. It feels like a thread the whole way. And it's a thread like that long. So you don't know how long you've been there. Like you're just...
Like a Jack in the Box.
You
Like,
just
did
pray.
it.
exactly what it is. Except this one's full of oil.
Just as scary.
Yeah. And that thing drops, and you've got your main axle for your front steering arm. You've got your steering arm. You've got maybe some cooler pipes that go all the way to from the radiator all the way to the transmission and so forth. And you've got all these things that it's got to avoid on the way down. Usually, you don't bring it down by hand. Gravity does. It hits everything, and oil goes everywhere. And 3 liters of oil on a person on the floor looks like 20 liters of oil. And it's black diesel oil. That stuff stains your clothes and your skin, and it stinks.
Yeah.
And that happened to me today.
Oh.
Yeah.
What? There was no apprentice to fucking throw it under
They were all busy doing other jobs that other people didn't want to do. They were wiring up lights and all those kind of tedious jobs that, you know, you don't want to do yourself. So you're like, you know what? I'll service the big truck. I'll go and do that. I had to change my shirt and my pants.
Yeah.
The floor, the whole front of this truck. But from when I took the Instagram story to the time it posted, kind of walked to my toolbox to get some rags and whatnot, it had spread 3 times that size.
It looks like a murder scene.
Yeah.
Like if you could draw white lines around it like a body like this, and it looks like just a huge pile of
Honestly,
just
it looks like someone's taken something and just going straight into the side of the sump and just let everything come out.
CCA hammer coming straight into the clutch once again.
But again, that is one of those workshop funnies that once you've had it happen to you, every time you got a new guy or someone that hasn't done them before, you go, oh, can you go service that truck? I'll be over to help you in a second. Start with the oil in the filter. Start with the oil in the filter. Every time, without fail, they come out arms black, face black, shirt covered, and you have a shirt ready to go for it. You know what's going to happen.
They're like, I don't know what I did wrong. It's like,
I did it to my boss. Luckily, my boss is a cool guy, and I was like, can you give us a hand service in the Isuzu over there? I was like, can you do the oil filters? Like, I don't like doing them. I just get a weird, awkward sort of pinch in my shoulder. Like, I came up with some sort of an excuse.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, no worries, because he's getting on the tools with me now, and he's doing actually his heavy vehicle course, which I really commend him for doing that. Like, it's really cool that your boss is not only the owner of the business, but he wants to be involved and see what you go through every day.
Yeah.
And it happened to him, and
What was his reaction?
he gets out from under the truck. He sees me laughing. He goes, you knew it was going to happen. And I said, yes, I did. Because
100% of the
when
time.
I first started here, the exact same thing happened to me. And he carried on that joke to the next guy.
Yeah, good. And it will ever go on forth as
Until
such.
those trucks are non-existent,
Yeah.
which is never going to be non-existent because
Yeah.
there's so many of them, it is just an ongoing joke.
You raised a really good thing there where it's like you always torture the apprentice, probably a norm in every trade.
Yeah.
What is the best prank or best set of pranks? It could be a really short or really long story. I want to hear it from both of you just because I feel like you would have gone through or seen or worked with a few where you're just like, bro, you fucking walked straight into that one.
You got some?
Not much because we don't hire apprentices.
Oh, it might be from back in the day, though.
Surely your old man's done something to you where you've just questioned your whole career choice.
Bro, that's every day for
half
big
the
Frank.
stuff is there's. I'll just nah, fuck that, nah.
You just know what he's going to do.
I give you a hand. That's it. I'm back in the office on the computer.
I have some fire stories, like quite literal fire.
Yeah, go on.
Brake cleaner is real flammable. Yeah, and there was always a lighter in the workshop, no matter
Nice.
whether there's smokers or not. And it started on me. I was in the toilet one day and smelled brake cleaner. I couldn't work out what was going on. And then it started getting really hot behind me. And this wasn't at the place I'm at now. This was somewhere else. The door is locked. The floor is on fire. The floor is literally lava. I've jumped onto the toilet seat and just toilet bowl and just gone, nah, not happening. And eventually brake cleaner does fizzle out. It doesn't stay burning for like fuel like it does for hours.
Yeah.
So then I carry that joke on as well. And instead of having the brake cleaner in my hand, I'd had a lighter in my hand. One of the boys was brake cleaning something. The brake cleaner, I didn't realize it was dripping out of the bottle and onto his leg. And it was dripping onto the floor. I've gone walk past and gone up his pants leg.
Running around like a headless chook.
Not even like he just threw the brake cleaner
You're
bottle
fucking
away.
jumping.
Yeah, man. And it was just fire. And then after that, I was like, shit. That was probably a little too much.
Took that joke a little bit too far.
Well, it seems to happen in every mechanic workshop, right? Because then I moved to the new workshop with some boys that I ended up being close with and whatnot. And there was the two of them trying to start a truck, and then they needed me, a third person or something. They needed someone to hold a wire on the positive cable on the battery. They needed someone to crank the can. They needed me being the other person to go put the positive wire to the starter motor. Like, okay, normally you just put positive there, it bridges the starter motor away, you have to turn the key. I've gone and done it, and as I'm doing it, I can't see them. I'm on the opposite side of the truck where I can't see. Like, it's a tipper and they can get to me, and I've just kind of got my head in an awkward position, and I feel wet all of a sudden. And then I feel really hot. And one of the boys took a video. And you see me on fire, running, takes my shirt off. My shirt is still on fire in my hands. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No.
It happens. And I've seen plenty of videos on TikTok, Facebook, whatever, you name it. I've seen all of it. It's not a first in this industry.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's brutal.
It doesn't... It can get you pretty bad. I have had a pretty nasty, like, little red mark on my arm. But, like, I've not seen anyone really, really bad, luckily.
It's funny how, like, some of the war wounds that you can get from this, like, Benny, I feel like, is one.
Oh, fuck it.
Did he share it on the first potty? I can't remember if he did. But
No, but I've heard about the story that the jack to the head. And
oh,
that kind of
dude.
stuff.
Everything in the tire flying.
Yeah, the tire iron hitting him in the head.
Shit fucking stripping back, like, the scars and stuff.
He's got some serious stories. Like, I've spent some time with him on the road, like, in his van, helping him out with his job and just, you know, as again, helping mates out, do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And, mate, the stories that he was giving me in this van, I kind of was like, my stories are nothing. So you saying horror stories, I'm like really racking my brain.
His horror story is like flesh coming off, like horror.
I've got the same hand. I've like 1 year after the other, like consecutively, because it comes up in my Snapchat memories.
Snapchat.
Yeah, right. Like that was where
Memories.
You just send it to all the boys and you're like, look what I've just done. And then you save it and you're like, I'll look at that another time.
Yeah.
But there is like full on like bits of metal in my hand where my hand's like pussed up huge, and it was consecutively for 3 years, every year. One time I lost my finger in the grinder, like my thumb was like missing all here. Yeah. The next year I had a piece of metal like right in my knuckle and I had to get an operation, right? And I said, I'm not having an operation. I said, just do it here. I've got a video of the surgeon like numbing my hand up, and in front of me, he's like, you want to lie down for this or are you good? And I'm like, no, just cut
Let's
it.
just go for it.
Slices it open to the bone to looking for this metal. He couldn't do it. I was in the hospital for 4 days after that, trying to get an operation done.
Oh.
The year after, grinder hits the same finger again. Oh, yeah. It's just you're in awkward positions sometimes, and
It shit happens.
shit happens, right? Yeah. Fuck. But it's the one hand, the same consecutive hand every time. And touch wood, wherever there's timber. But I really don't want to do it again.
No, fuck no.
You're off work for 2 to 3 weeks at a minimum, and you are bored shitless. You
Yeah.
can't work on your own car. Insurance doesn't cover you because you're in a cast and you're driving manual, so you can't safely operate the vehicle. So you can't even drive your car. If you get caught, you're done.
Yep.
You can't leave your house. You can't play the Xbox.
You can't use the correct hand to.
You can't even feed yourself.
You can't operate properly.
Come on now.
You have to ask your girlfriend to come over every day just to.
I was very well and truly single at the time. I became ambidextrous pretty quickly.
Guys doing cursive. Oh fuck.
It. Sorry, guys, you all know about that now?
Yeah, no, it's good, bro. I've loved having you on this potty.
Thank you.
I think, I don't know about you, but I think we need to bring him and Reese on for part 2. It's like a collabed part
So
2.
if you want a little sneak peek, I can give you the story on the Triple S and the crash, and I'll give you a little bit more in depth to it if you really want. If that's
For part 2?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Reese was there that night. Reese was behind me.
You can both check it. You can both, like, cause not that you need to fucking make up something, but like you can both fact check what actually happened, because it's different perspectives. Because arguably,
I don't remember much, honestly.
That's what I'm saying, you're
all I saw was
disillusioned.
blurry, pole, airbag.
Siggy's.
but
Yeah.
like Reese,
Tow truck, cops,
but Reese
hospital.
would have seen something completely different
Reese wasn't in the car, was he?
No, he was behind me in his car.
So he would have seen the whole thing
from a different
unravel.
lens.
So what I remember, right, is So it was winter too. So my
fucking
my
cold
best
roads.
mate, he didn't have an airbag on his side. The Triple S didn't have an airbag, passenger airbag. It had a mad parcel shelf. You could put anything you want. He used to have his wallet, his keys, his phone just sitting on his parcel shelf and dash. He never left the dash. But he used to do this thing where he used to like rock the seat the whole way forward. He'd make me crank the heater the whole way because we always drove with the windows down. It could be like a 5-degree night. You'd have the windows down, but the heater cranking on your legs.
Yep.
And he'd sit there right up close, holding the hands on the heater. And he was doing this while I was going through the twisties. And he did that while we hit the pole.
Fuck.
Yeah.
So what happened to him?
Nothing. Neither of us had a bruise. I had a bleeding nose from the airbag, but other than that, no concussions, no nothing. And the other only thing I remember after hitting the pole is Reese was the one that pulled me out of the car. Yeah.
I think we got to hold the whole story until Reese is on the
I'm
show.
looking forward to part 2. You know what, actually, to sign off, do you actually have anything you want to say to people listening? And remember, there's all kinds of people listening to this podcast. Is there anything that you think, like words of wisdom, however you want to phrase it, that you could share?
A big one definitely is if you want to find a passion in cars, definitely surround yourself with people who have the same passion, such as you guys, you know, people who have the same interests, whether you have 2 different models of cars, whatever, front wheel drive, rear wheel drive, all wheel drive, share the passion. You're all going to learn somehow. And the best bit is if you're going to learn how to work on your car, do it with someone who knows what they're doing. A mechanic,
Facts, yeah.
you know, find a mechanic who's nice enough to, you pay him for his time as you would, you know, for him to do the job himself, but he might look at you at a cheaper rate just because you're there because you want to learn how to do it yourself, and he will teach you. Instead of having to do the 4 years of TAFE like I did, apprentice wage, whatever, have someone there with some knowledge, you know? But on top of that, just enjoy it. Just don't be an idiot when you don't have to be. Like, I learnt from my mistakes as a P plater and my one horrible accident. And, you know, and it all came down to factors of don't cheap out on parts either. Modifying a car, do not cheap out on the parts. Like I said, I learnt the hard way.
Don't buy an eBay muffler, maybe?
No, that's kind of cool.
Neck force. He's talking about the neck force.
If you have a $500 car and you want to put an eBay muffler on, by all means, be obnoxious and annoy the whole neighborhood, please. I live on a main road and I love hearing everyone come past. Just everyone knows where I live. And if they get stopped at the lights, it's a burnout, it's a launch, it's something. Or if they're on the fly, you hear them drop back a gear and you just hear the whole way past you.
Can I be honest? The MX-5 doesn't even make that much noise yet, which is where we are in the build series, but we put the air intake on recently.
Why don't I cut the muffler off for you?
It's getting a full race exhaust, don't worry.
Yeah, cut the muffler off.
We put the air intake on the other night, and I won't lie, today when I had to drive past your house, which I do every single time I drive to Sydney, I was like,
Never stop in.
I'm gonna, bro, I've got to get to places I can't stop in. Not unless I'm delivering you parts in a Swift.
Lucky my car isn't broken at the moment.
Nah.
I'm going to leave here, do something stupid. It's going to be here till tomorrow.
Beautiful.
I'm going to drive like a baby home.
Yeah. Fuck. Well, thank you so much for coming on, man. I definitely want you on for part 2. And I honestly think we've got a lot of other shows and we keep alluding to this stuff and we are working hard on it. I have no doubt that you're going to appear on another series that we do.
I have free time for the right people. Like I said, surround yourselves with those people, and you guys are those people, so I'm going to be around. You'll see more
I
of me.
love it.
I'm getting the feeling like it's a good versus series. It's like him, a professional, versus like
Angus.
me, complete novice.
You put the professional part in there, but there is a lot of swearing, some spanner throwing, and some serious,
dude,
questionable moments.
I do that and I'm not professional.
Yeah. You're halfway there then.
Yeah.
It's not even going to be a series that way. It's just going to be 2 idiots working as a professional.
Dude, I don't know how we're going to do it, but half the episode's just going to be a beep, 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 just bleeping every single fucking expletive.
It would be. And blurred scenes.
But,
it'd be good.
no, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. This has been
thank
fucking
you.
sick.
Thank you. It's been hot in the box and because of you.
You know, stuff it. You know how it is on this podcast, bro. It's either
You
raining
made
or
me
fucking
feel good
hot.
at the start of the podcast, so I make you feel good at the end.
Stuff
You
it.
two fucking. I was the third wheel right here. Fuck.
He wants that straight pipe. He needs to stop it in my house.
If people want to find you, Mario, how do people find you?
My Instagram, TikTok, all that kind of stuff is just my name. I never went anything special with it. It's just a timeline of me. Really, you'll see the first cars I've talked about. You'll see the things I've done in between, and you'll see whatever else. It's just my first name.
You.
Yeah, it's just my first name _ my last name, which I'm sure the boys will put somewhere here
In the link.
In the link description.
Yeah, and by all means, follow me. And if you have questions, ask me. I'm not afraid to kind of give you the advice if I can give it to you. So
He says that now, 1,000 notifications come through. He's just
block.
Shit.
going out the window.
No, thank you. Guys, if you're really enjoying this podcast, thank you so much for listening. I can't do it without all of you. Can you please do me one big favor? Feedback is everything to us on this podcast, and it's how we know we're doing the right thing, bringing on the right guests, and actually talking about the right type of content. We love all of you listening, and to be honest, I'm kind of flabbergasted looking at the stats. YouTube is one thing, the stats on Spotify and iTunes is another. I can't believe we're literally in the thousands. Like, in terms of like the actual listenership, it's absolutely nuts, and I can't thank you guys enough. Can you please do me a favor? Hit the 5 stars, rate it, subscribe, like wherever you're listening to the show, whether you're watching it or just streaming it on whatever platform you can find it on. I really thank you for your support. Write in, there's polls and questions on everything, and you can actually talk to us. You can even write
you can send us a
voicemail.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we want to start doing that. So we've got a Q&A episode eventually coming up, and we want to do those things because we want to ask.
Voicemail segment, just play someone's voicemail into the microphone.
Literally. So we'll get through as many as we possibly can, and if it's really good and you guys like it, we'll keep ripping through every single one of them. We'll still continue to have a guest. If you love Mario so much, we'll bring him on for the Q&A ones as well.
Or tell us who you want on the podcast. We will get them on.
Be honest. Like, be honest.
Tell us who you want to see on
here. Bring the wrong person on here. Like, bring the people you want to see on here.
100%.
Yeah.
We do have a lot of guests still coming up that we're holding off. We're holding off in terms of like what's coming. But guys, it's slowly building. And I can't thank you enough for your support. If you want to find us, Car Culture Australia on every single platform. Instagram, as you know, is car.culture.australia. And you can find the Dude Where's My Car podcast. I thought I got so good at the outro, and I fucked it up in the end.
I do want to add one more in there because I feel everyone's going to do it.
Go.
But I don't know if we tell people to do it. If you have any of the brake cleaner pranks, send them through because we want to see them.
Send them directly to any one of us. Just do it.
If you send it through, we might even share it on the TV, and other people can see the pranks that you guys have done.
Just do a whole episode on just like fan submissions.
Oh, that would be sick.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing. Any comments that have told us, feedback.
Like a fan horror story submissions. Friends' cars, own cars.
This guy want a job?
Do you want to join the marketing team? PR sounds pretty good for you.
Yeah, look. Another thing to add to the list of things I can do.
Yeah.
Fabinacles for one.
That's it. Full buzz.
Is there anything else you want to share?
No, that's everything.
All right.
If you want CCA merch, website is now live. Shirts, stickers, lanyards, everything is on there.
Wear it everywhere. Wear it anywhere. Bed, shower.
Whatever you want. Whatever you want. We'll even have some more limited drops coming.
Wedding. Fuck yeah. I could wear it on this podcast. I don't know why I didn't.
I wear it that much that my missus like, do you have anything other than your KS shirts and your CCA shirts? I was like, nope.
No. What dude, Mambo stopped being a brand in the 90s. Like, what?
I'd wear these shirts everywhere.
Why would I need to wear anything else?
Okay, that's aside. Let's wrap this up. Thank you guys for listening. Until next time, see you guys.